Hi, this is Hannah from Better Bean, and today I'm starting my first in my exploration of heirloom beans, and I'm starting with the tiger's eye. I just spent a long time researching on the internet. Meanwhile, I burnt the quinoa that I had going on the stove because I couldn't find very much information on it. It's a really common heirloom bean. I've seen it a lot in various shops and online, and apparently it's a very common garden crop because it's great as a fresh bean, as a green bean, fresh shell bean, and as a dried bean. So it's very versatile. This is my pile of tiger's eye beans. You can see here just a gorgeous variety of colors. One thing that's really important that I look for in beans are ones that have discoloration or are not. See how this one has a little bit of a dent in it? That's not a very good bean. It has problems. It's a little immature or just got damaged, and so I'm not going to include that in my pile, in my cooking pile. I'm going to look around for other beans like that that might have a little bit of a problem on them because they're not going to cook up very well, and you're going to get that weird one that you taste in there that's not very yummy. But these are pretty beautiful beans for the most part. See that one there? I'm going to take that one out. I got them from Wildwood Farm on Whigby Island in the Seattle Puget Sound area. Another not so happy looking bean. A lot of times though, I will throw them in if they're on the edge because I don't like wasting food, and I don't want to throw away these beans. But especially if you're planting them, you really don't want to include them in your pile. I actually have saved a little bit of these for my bean collection as well, so I have some saved elsewhere, and these ones I'm going to cook and discover the flavor. And so they say that these are a really great bean for refried beans and chilies because the skin dissolves. It's a very soft, creamy bean. They liken them to mashed potatoes. So we'll see. So this is them dry, and I'm going to soak them for 24 hours to activate the enzymes. An important step before you actually soak the beans is to rinse them and get all the debris off. And sometimes I actually do this in the same bowl. I'm just using a nice, fresh, cold water for soaking the beans. I filled the bowl up pretty much all the way to the top, and I might check on them and see if they need any more soaking. If any beans float up to the top, that means they're an immature seed. I don't think that's a problem for cooking, but maybe a nice way to check for your garden. And yeah, we will see how they grow. Here's another one that's been squashed, maybe in processing, and has a little bit of dirt on it. I'm gonna just take it out. I want a bunch of really beautiful beans, though I have made a soup out of all my discarded beans before, and it was really nice. You see this one's rippling already. Sorry, the focus isn't very good on this one. It's getting a little ripple. That means that, there's a cut in the skin and it's absorbing water a lot more quickly. Beans actually only absorb water through the little eye at the tip of the bean. That little white area right there. That's the only place that they absorb water. That's why you don't want to cook beans with salts and acids, because it inhibits the water from getting inside of them. So we'll check in soon. Good morning, beans. Look how beautiful they look. They're super plump. You can tell that they've lost a little bit of their luster and color. It's actually in the water. Those are some of the indigestible starches, but also water-soluble nutrients. And so there's a big debate on whether or not you keep your soaking water or you toss it. Maybe I'll get into that another day. Hi, so it's not quite 12 hours past, but I would really like to eat these beans for dinner. And they're looking really, really good. Look at how beautiful and plump they are. It's so fun at this stage. So I am going to chop up a little bit of onion because I bought a bunch of onions that were kind of on discount that need to be used. A little bit of fresh garlic. Get really involved in the tactile experience. This is part of cooking, is using your hands and touching things. I actually really enjoy eating with my hands as well, because it's tactile. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Someone once told me that you just want to barely cover the beans instead of filling it all the way up to the top. I think it's just because they cook a little bit more efficiently. You're not cooking water that you don't need, but definitely watch the pot to make sure that it isn't losing all its water, because then you'll burn your beans. So yeah, I have yet to add the onions, but I just wanted to show you this. I get them going as soon as possible. I'm going to bring it to a boil and then turn down to a simmer. It's 3:12 and the pot is boiling, so I'm going to turn it down to like medium-low, and we'll check in a few hours. So I just grabbed a bean out of the pot, and see how it's split like that down the middle? It's very interesting. It almost looks like oysters to me, how they're splitting, and you'd think they're done because some of them are doing this, but they're not quite there. It's still grainy. If you feel that graininess on your tongue, your beans aren't done. You want to wait until they're super soft and creamy, and maybe some of them will break down in the pot and just disintegrate, and then others will be that beautiful creaminess. That's just kind of the nature of the different beans. I also ran out of water in my pot because I got involved in another project, and just what happens, what I warned you about. So just be careful. But it's almost an hour, 40 minutes later right now. And we approach the pot an hour later, and look at it beautifully simmering with just a little bit of water. This is so gorgeous. So I'm just going to stir in here a little bit. I like to leave just a little bit of broth. As you can see, they are breaking very, nicely, well, kind of nicely. So that, hot. Really delicious creamy bean. I did add a little bit of salt a moment ago when you weren't here. So just know that that's a nice thing to add just to bring out the flavor, but it's not necessary either. So these are tasting really nice. Still do have a lot of their shape. Getting really creamy. No more of that graininess. I might let them cook down a little bit. Some people like to just measure out their water just perfectly so that it mostly disappears and you've got those beans, but I do like the broth a lot. So at this point, I'm actually just going to turn them off and let them sit in their broth. Catherine Diemling of Cook With What You Have also says she loves just to let her beans sit and stew in their own flavor, and I think this will be really nice to them, and then I won't burn myself anymore when I try and taste them. I have to say, there really is something to letting your beans sit for a little while. They're nice in room temperature right now. They've been sitting for a few hours actually, and I'm ready to cook with them, but I wanted to kind of do a little taste test first. Oh my gosh. They're so delicious. I would say these ones are almost fruity for a bean. I can just eat them like this, right out of the pot. It doesn't look so good anymore because it's gotten a little dried up, but all I did was wonderful tiger's eye beans, onions, garlic, a little bit of salt at the end. Right now I'm going to chop up some fresh dino kale that I have and saute it for a moment, and then throw the beans on top and have some little bean kale saute. Super easy, super nutritious meal. My Grammy, who passed away this year, used to eat our rethought red beans straight from the tub. She'd have a few spoonfuls throughout the day when she was hungry. I mean, beans are really wonderful for sustaining you because they're complex carbohydrates, the high fiber, and the protein, you digest them really slowly. And I'm just thinking of that with these because I can just eat them straight out of the pot, keep them in my fridge for when I have these little cravings during the day, which I actually don't have very much because I typically have beans for breakfast. I don't know, it just gets me going throughout the day. But if I ate eggs much, these would be great with eggs too. I see the refried bean. Oh my god. I told you I liked eating with my fingers. A few minutes later, this is my final result. Doesn't it look awesome? The beans actually held up very well. The skins aren't as thin as they describe them in a lot of the blog posts. And, you know, I was tempted to put extra seasoning on my kale, but just the bean juice all around them. And, of course, cast iron pans often give off a really nice flavor, the flavorings of what you've cooked in them before. So I'm ready for dinner.